Welcome back to The Word Dwelt. We are in a series titled The Chosen One. This is the second video in this series where we are surveying the major biblical passages that speak about the Messiah from Genesis all the way to Revelation. And last video, the first video, we talked about the Chosen One in Genesis, and we saw Genesis 3:15, the first prophecy about the Messiah, and how he was going to destroy the serpent and be bruised in the process. And then we saw Genesis 12, God promised Abraham that his descendants, through his descendant, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. And then we saw that promise narrowed from Abraham down to Isaac, down to Jacob, and down to Judah in Genesis 49. And we see that this promised king, this promised deliverer figure is going to come from the family of Judah. And today, we are going to look at the chosen one, the Messiah, in Numbers chapter 24. So we're jumping forward a few hundred years in the storyline from last video. So to kind of bridge that gap, Genesis ends in Genesis 50 with Jacob's family in the nation of Egypt after the famine, and Joseph rises to power under Pharaoh. The brothers come back. Jacob actually blessing his 12 sons is Genesis 49, right before Jacob dies, and that's where the book leaves off. They're in Egypt, they're growing, and Exodus begins with the nation of Israel a couple hundred years later, or a few hundred years later, after the end of Genesis, and they've grown and multiplied greatly, and a new Pharaoh rises, and he does not like the nation of Israel growing so rapidly, because they're a threat. And so he enslaves the people. And we get the story of Moses, God using Moses to deliver his people from slavery. We call this the Exodus. And then the second half of the book of Exodus is God giving Moses and the nation of Israel his covenant between him and the nation at Mount Sinai. The book of Leviticus is a continuation of this covenant. It is a series of laws about the sacrificial system and ritual purity, and essentially how to dwell in the midst, how to dwell with a holy God in your midst. So that's the book of Leviticus. That takes us to the book of Numbers, which we'll be looking at today. And the book of Numbers could also rightly be called the book of wandering, because it begins with the Israelites setting out from Mount Sinai to go to the promised land, and they send spies into the land to scout it out, and they come back, and the spies, 10 out of the 12 spies, are afraid because they see giants and the people are mighty and they have fortresses. And so all of the nation of Israel says, let's go back to Egypt. I don't want to go in the promised land, because they don't trust God. They don't trust God to keep providing like he already has. And so God says to this nation, this generation that's afraid to go in the promised land, actually, you're not going to go in. I'm going to wait until all of you die except Joshua and Caleb, the two spies who were faithful to me, and this next generation is going to enter the promised land. So Numbers 24, we're now on the tail end of this 40 years of wandering of the people. And in Numbers 21, the Israelites defeat the Amorites and King Og. And in Numbers 22, the Israelites are then outside of the plains of Moab. And the king of Moab, Balak, and the nation is rightfully scared of this foreign nation that's at their gates, because they just destroyed the Amorites, and they've destroyed other people along the way. So Balak summons this character Balaam in Numbers 22 and says, hey, I need you to come curse these people for me, because they're going to destroy me, and I need some help. And then in Numbers 22, we get this really interesting story about the prophet Balaam that Balak summons, and a talking donkey. In Numbers 23, we get his first oracle, and each time the first and second oracles in Numbers 23, Balak says, come curse the Israelites. Balaam says, I'll say whatever God tells me to say, and he blesses them both times. And then he does it a third time in Numbers 24, and that's where we'll be today, looking at this prophecy about the chosen one. Numbers 24, verse 1. When Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he did not go, as at other times, to look for omens, but set his face toward the wilderness. And Balaam lifted up his eyes and saw Israel camping tribe by tribe. And the Spirit of God came upon him. And he took up his discourse and said, The oracle of Balaam, the son of Beor, the oracle of the man whose eye is opened, the oracle of him who hears the words of God, who sees the vision of the Almighty, falling down with eyes uncovered. How lovely are your tents, O Jacob, your encampments, O Israel. Like palm groves that stretch afar, like gardens beside a river, like aloes that the Lord has planted, like cedar trees beside the waters, water shall flow from his buckets, and his seed shall be in many waters. His king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. God brings him out of Egypt, and is for him like the horns of the wild ox. He shall eat up the nations, his adversaries. He shall break their bones in pieces, and pierce them through with his arrows. He crouched, he lay down like a lion, and like a lioness, who will rouse him up? Blessed are those who bless you, and cursed are those who curse you. So this is Balaam's third oracle, and we see the vision of the Almighty, the oracle of God from the lips of Balaam. In verse 7, we see this king. This king figure shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. And in verse 8, we see that this king, this nation, will eat up the other nations and will have dominion and defeat his adversaries. Very similar to the prophecy in Genesis 49 given to Judah. Also similar to the prophecy given to Judah is verse 9. He crouched, he lay down like a lion, and like a lioness, who will rouse him up? Blessed are those who bless you, and cursed are those who curse you. So this last verse, in verse 9 of the third oracle, is really a combination of two promises God's given his people. One in Genesis 12 to Abraham, those who bless you will be blessed, those who curse you will be cursed. So Balaam's doubling down on this promise that those who bless the nation of Israel, and really especially the descendant of Israel, this future king, those who bless this king will be blessed. Those who curse you, this king will be cursed. And he's doubling down on this imagery of this king being like a lion. In Genesis 49, if we remember, God's promise to Judah through the mouth of Jacob, he says, Judah is a lion's cub. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He stooped down. He crouched as a lion, and as a lioness, who dares rouse him? The scepter shall not depart from Judah until tribute comes to him, and to him shall be the obedience of the peoples. So we get this future king, lion, dare I say, lion king figure from Israel. And then Balaam's final oracle, starting in verse 15, Numbers 24. And he took up his discourse and said, the oracle of Balaam, the son of Beor, the oracle of the man whose eye is opened, the oracle of him who hears the words of God and knows the knowledge of the Most High, who sees the vision of the Almighty, falling down with his eyes uncovered. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. It shall crush the forehead of Moab and break down all the sons of Sheth. Edom shall be dispossessed, Seir also, his enemies shall be dispossessed. Israel is doing valiantly. And one from Jacob shall exercise dominion and destroy the survivors of cities. So we get two images here. One is familiar, the other one is new. Two images that describe the chosen one that will arise from Israel. The first is a star. A star shall come out of Jacob. And when I think about what a star denotes about a character, what it says about this future Messiah figure, is he's going to be glorious. Think about a star. You can see it from millions and millions of miles away, and it's beautiful, especially a night sky full of stars. So this chosen one's going to be glorious. He's going to be beautiful. He's going to be a spectacle. Everyone's going to see this chosen one like they can see a star. The other imagery we get is that of a scepter. A scepter shall rise out of Israel. In Genesis 49, we saw the scepter shall not depart from Judah. What was a scepter? The scepter was the king's staff, what he would have in his hand when he sat on his throne, when he was judging, conducting whatever business kings in the ancient Near East conducted. So this king from the nation of Israel is going to be like a star, and he's going to rule over his enemies. He's going to break down Sheth, he's going to break down Edom and Seir. He's going to do valiantly, and he is going to exercise dominion. So This is the second major prophecy. If you want to lump all the Genesis prophecies together into one, we could call this the second major prophecy in the scriptures about the chosen one. This time it's from the mouth of a Gentile, the prophet Balaam, who's really a mysterious character and somebody we see later in Numbers who didn't end up being a righteous man at all, but God used him to proclaim the good news that somebody is going to come from the nation of Israel, and he is going to be the true king of the world. He's going to be a star. He's going to wield the scepter, and he's going to exercise dominion. Blessed are those who bless this future descendant of Jacob, Judah, and cursed are those who curse this future descendant, this chosen one. So that is the chosen one in the book of Numbers. Next video, we're going to look at the chosen one in Deuteronomy. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, whatever. Thank you for watching.